Normal service resumed in the league campaign today as Michael Beale's men stroll past Livingston 4-0. How do you rate our performance today?
I thought it was at the start of the game. It was kind of. I thought it was going to go the same way the Kilmarnock game went, because we got to maybe the first 70 minutes or so. I think we were pretty wasteful.
Oh, definitely wasteful has been a key theme out of the first number of games. The Kilmarnock game, the Servette game, all of last season.
Aye.
It's something that we need to eradicate, but hopefully we're getting there, seeing as we've managed to bag 4 goals at the weekend.
Yep. I think as well, I mean, even the like, say, Dessers, I've seen a lot of criticism online after the game as well, and to be honest, I think it kind of is justified, even though I fully believe that we've got a player in there, and I think he needs time. Dessers is one of the ones where, in my opinion, I think he'd maybe be struggling with how quick we want to play, and obviously from the Kilmarnock game and the criticism we got in terms of the front three combining with the kind of one-touch passes through, putting each other through into goal, I think maybe that encouraged him to try harder, but I think he tried a bit too hard, if you know what I mean.
It looked, honestly, to me, let's be honest, right? If you knock a ball into a player's feet in the training ground, they're going to control the ball perfectly 99% of the time. But there was a few moments in the game at the weekend, and possibly in the last 2 games, where his first touch was left lacking a bit, to be honest. And for me, against Livingston there was a few times where he seemed to miscontrol the ball, or he gave the ball away. He's picking up good positions right enough, which is always promising, you know what I mean? Because I do think he's got a good eye for the game and can read the game well as an offensive player, you know what I mean? When you're getting good deliveries into the box, you need to be able to do like what Danilo done and get between the 2 centre-backs. And I think Dessers is capable of that. Maybe it's a combination of him feeling a bit nervy.
He did look nervy.
He did look nervy, but also I think maybe honestly lacking people have said he looked a bit slow, so maybe he's still lacking a bit of fitness, which is no ideal considering the season is
my first thoughts were rusty, because obviously, as you said, the first touch was pretty poor. It's been poor in the Kilmarnock game, but again, I'd go to the point that not every single player is going to come in and adapt to that style of play straight off the bat. And I think as well, that Kilmarnock game and the way Livingston play as well, he's maybe had a bit of a shock. He's maybe not experienced that before, that that kind of low block, that 11 men behind the ball try to break them down. It might have been a bit of a shock for him, because where he might have had space to play the way he wanted to play before, he's not got that space now, because as soon as we hit the final third, we've got basically, he might have 2 or 3 players on him trying to shut him down, which means maybe in his mind he's like, right, well, I need to get every touch needs to be that one touch, that quick touch. And you've seen like during the game as well, that thought in his head, I need to get the ball quick touching away, nearly led to a Livingston goal.
Aye, and I think that's, how many times do we see that actually in previous seasons with Morelos? Because I do think Dessers strikes me as somebody who wants to drop a bit deeper, get on the ball, and I think all of our forward players do sort of have the freedom to do that. But there's one I can remember in particular for last season for Morelos, where he drops deep, he tries to play the ball immediately out on his blind side. This was in an Old Firm game, intercepted, and they go up and score. That nearly happened yesterday with Dessers at the edge of your own box. But what I've noticed as well is that we're no shy of playing the ball a bit more direct at times this season. There was a chance within the first 5 minutes where Tav gets the ball and Dessers makes a good run off the final man, gets past, beats the keeper, and the defender just comes out at the front post and clears the ball. But ultimately, I think, look, I said previously, we both said that we've got faith in these signings, alright? Michael Beale signed Raskin and Cantwell, they've both been great players. Now, for the last 2 games, that's 5 of the new boys scored.
Yep.
Cifuentes got a bit of a harsh decision at the weekend where he wins the ball in the air, it comes down, hits his hands by his side, and he scores an absolute
It's literally just because he
scored.
scored, and I mean the ref probably seen that as well. The only way he got the ball under control and all that to score that goal was like it coming off his arm. So it's one of the ones.
It's a crazy rule, mate, because I know it's a bit subjective. It hits his hand's by his side. I think you need to use a bit of common sense. The refs need to think, has this player deliberately handed the ball here? You know what I mean? He's literally headed it down, it's come off his arm, but again, like you say, it's probably because it's led to a goal. But I think the handballing situation's a bit farcical at times, to be honest.
I mean, on Cifuentes, I thought I was gutted for him when that never went in, because I thought during that game he played outstanding, and some of the balls that he was playing in for like further back, so he's playing that early cross in, and the few crosses that he put in were like right the money, right into that danger area in the middle of the box, and
between like the goalkeeper and the gap between the goalkeeper and the line of defence, that's your critical point for the striker to just run in and tap it into an empty goal, more or less.
Which is good, because then we're not relying on Barisic and Tav, which we have done in previous seasons, in the wide areas to swing balls into the box, because they've got the inconsistencies. There'll be times now, and I know Tav had a quiet game, but there'll be times now where Tav and Barisic could maybe not necessarily take a back seat, but focus more on the defensive part of the game, because we know we've got those options like for midfield to come out wide, put early balls into the box when we're on the break, because that's something we've been missing again, that direct play, because I mean, we didn't really see it in the Kilmarnock game, but you seen kind of hints at it in the Livingston game, that direct style of plays coming through.
Well, what I liked actually is the fact that you've got, so the change we made at the weekend with Ryan Jack, brought him out of the team, and we've put Raskin in that holding midfield role, which that is where I would play him. As much as look, we can't have all our midfield like pushing on the forward three and being attacking players. I think Raskin is so great at reading the game, so happy to get on the ball, dropping deep, getting the ball off the defence and starting our attacks. So as much as I like Ryan Jack as a player, he's in his last year of his contract, he's going to be out the door more or less. We've tried to rejuvenate the team. We've brought in Cifuentes and Cantwell and Raskin, and I like to see Raskin in that deeper holding midfield role. He's no shy of a tackle. He's got a great engine, and see your holding midfielder, he needs to be able to read the game. You seen it. I think a great example is it Kante at Chelsea?
N'Golo Kante.
Yep. There was one season where this guy was just standing in front of the defence, intercepting every ball. And I think Raskin's got these sort of capabilities as well, to read the play, intercept, get the ball, and then hand it off to Cifuentes and Cantwell, you know what I mean, for them to go more on the attacking side of the game. But I think, look, it's great to have an overload of players that are wanting to fill the midfield for us, you know what I mean? We can rest Jack and put in Raskin, change things up, and I think Beale's still learning what his best 11 is, what style he played. Does he want to go narrow? Does he want to use the width? So, I mean, things are coming together slowly.
That was a worry. I mean, because we were playing so centrally in an attacking sense, it made it even more, to be honest, my head nearly fell off when I heard what player it was, but when Matondo get brought on and completely changed the game, because there on came a player who's used to sticking out in wide areas and bring the ball inside, similar to the way like Kent would have done, like bringing the ball inside, trying to make things happen. And to be honest, I never expected it to come from Matondo.
Mate, this is what fucking frustrates me about Matondo, right? He come on and he changed the game. He honestly changed the game. It was dropping deep, getting the ball, and he's so quick. He was covering yards rapidly. I think he linked up with Dowell for the fourth goal, but mate, he was getting the ball and he was so direct and he's rapid. But I'm sitting there bemused in front of the telly thinking, why can you no do this if you were to start? Because you can't.
Aye.
And it fucking frustrates the life out of you, because you get some players who can come on off the bench and look amazing.
Yeah.
And you're like, Michael Beale must be thinking to himself, there's a player in there.
Aye. Oh, there's 100% a player in there.
And now he's up for contention for starting. I know he won't, but when you come on and make an impact like that and are so direct, and he looked brilliant, he got on, he was driving, he won a foul, he linked up for the 4th goal, just looked like a nuisance when he come on the park. But then you're like, he done it a few times last season as well, and then he gets started and he's not in the game for 75 minutes.
I think that's how he'll know start, because there was times where he'd have that odd game and you think, oh, here we go, he's finally starting to settle in and find his game, and then he'd go and have a performance where he was barely in the game. He was taking balls on a run and then meeting the first man, and then possessions getting turned over. But
he's a great weapon to utilise off the bench, especially against teams like Livi, when you've controlled the possession for 75, 80 minutes and they're leggy, they're tired, space is opening up, and you fire him on off the bench to just run at players. And sometimes you're going to see, if a player gets brought on in 70 minutes, they're going to get an extra 10 minutes sometimes stoppage time as well now. So,
well, that's the thing as well, like, you could look at the other argument and say, well, looking at Servette need to come out and score a goal. They need to come at us first. They need to score first. There's no two ways about it.
Can't afford to sit back.
Then when we've got that space at their back four, is that a Matondo kind of player with that burst of pace going to be good in terms of starting them? Because
that's the difficult thing. I think we'll set up more or less the same as what we've done. It's a hard one. I think Goldson will come back into the team if he's fully fit. But don't get me wrong, Suter and Balogun. So I'm sure Suter get man of the match. But I was thinking to myself, Balogun has done so
he's
well.
Still got it.
Played
he's
a blinder.
Still got it.
He was good, very good defensively. Again, he was very good at reading when their players were dropping in. He was right up their arse, ready to go. But I just thought he honestly done everything perfectly yesterday, and I was like, for a man who's getting old, who's a backup to Goldson or Suter, he's in for contention, by the way. I mean, him and again, it's a good headache for Michael Beale to have.
Oh, 100%, because we've never had a headache in terms of like centre back partnership. It's always been chopping and changing, and a big difference I like between like Balogun, Suter, Goldson, as opposed to what we had in the past, is now we've got like two centre backs always that like to get the ball at their feet and like to drive forward, which helps with that like direct style of play.
Absolutely.
Because before we'd have maybe had like say Hollander, who'd take the ball at his feet and he'd just want to pass, just want to recycle the ball, and
to the fullbacks.
It kind of go, you kind of lost patience with it. Whereas now, how many times in the past couple of games have we seen Suter take the ball straight at his feet and his first instinct is, I want to come out.
He's covering 15 yards off the bat.
A lot of the time he's coming out, he's got the bravery to take players on, and I think Goldson had that as well. Goldson doesn't really take players on, but he'll drive out and he'll look for that big diagonal ball, which unlocked a lot of defences last season. And compared to this season, where I think if you've got a defender that likes to drive the ball forward and take players on, and he's confident, and you've got a player that takes the ball, drives it forward and likes to play, it's a brilliant combo. To be honest, I think throughout the season that combo, Goldson and Suter's got to be absolutely massive for us in the way we want to play.
I think all I'm asking for is that we get a wee bit better each game, and we hit that sort of that peak with everybody gelling, the plays looking fluid and fluent, our forward players are scoring, our midfield players are getting assists, and our defence is shaping up to be solid. And all that leads us into the old firm at Ibrox, where we go on and we ultimately win back the 3 points that we dropped at the start of the season. So I think it's definitely, we've no hit our ceiling yet, we've no maximised our potential by no stretch of the imagination, but again, we've got a really important match tomorrow against Servette, and then who knows what it will be after that, whether it will be probably PSV, which will be a really tough ask. I think we're going to need to push on another couple of levels if we're going to challenge them and ultimately get into the Champions League. But then another big one in Celtic, because we cannot afford to go 6 points behind.
You can't.
1 month into the season.
No chance, because again, don't want to look at the way Celtic are playing now, but they seem like they're just in that stage where they're not really playing the best, but they're just getting results. They're good at just getting results.
Aye.
And we've had spells of that in the past, but I think we need to take the front foot this season. We always need to be playing in the front foot this season. We need to be picking up points, not just for the sake of picking up points, but picking up points with good performances backing them.
Well, that's what cost us majorly last season. That there was games where we actually played no too bad, no great, but we weren't diabolical. But there was times, especially away from home, where we dropped needless points. We've already done it once this season against Kelly. It can't happen again.
And that came for kind of lacklustre performances, because you knew how the team were going to play as soon as they went into the game. You're just kind of hoping we know what the performance is going to be like, but hopefully we'll get the 3 points. That always kind of leaves you. It's always going to leave you vulnerable.
I think one big positive for the last week since the Kelly game is that mostly all the new signings have got their goal now.
Aye.
So
huge for confidence.
Aye. So there's no excuse. Like, sometimes your striker can lose a bit of confidence if he goes in a wee bit of a drought. Desser's got his goal against Servette. Cifuentes got a goal. Alright, I get disallowed, but at least he knows he can hit the back of the net.
Aye.
Danilo, Lammers, Dowell scored an absolute cracker.
Aye.
So there's no excuses on that front, and hopefully that just gives us a bit of a boost, a bit of a confidence boost, a bit of a morale booster going in. Michael Beale's maybe seeing that things are starting to come together, and it leads us into this game tomorrow night. A massive game, you know what I mean? And it will be difficult. It will play much differently for the way the game played at Ibrox. Like you say, they'll need to come out, they'll need to be open, and we will need to be clinical.
Yep. So tune in. We're going to do a match preview tomorrow for the game against Servette. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe. Also, if you're liking these kind of small podcast type formats, then leave a like, comment if you want to talk about anything to do with today's podcast, because we love diving in and replying to your guys' comments. Also, you can take the discussion over to Twitter, Blue Sea Podcast, and on TikTok, bluesea.podcast, and we'll see you next time.